Okay, well, it's 1 p.m., so I guess we'll kind of get started and people can kind of filter in through or as we start. But I'm really excited to have you all here today. And I'm very excited to welcome Norbert Roztocki, the founder of moveart. Norbert's path is really anything but typical. He's trained in cultural anthropology and philosophy, and has spent many years working as a photojournalist and documentary filmmaker across many countries. Um, he became deeply engaged with this idea of metamorphosis in art, design, and society, which really led him to moveart where it is today. And I'm very excited to hear more about the journey that's really shaped his approach to play and space. And we'll be leaving about 5 to 10 minutes, maybe a few more at the end for questions. So feel free to type in your questions in the Q&A section as we go. And I'll hand it over to you, Norbert.
Marta, thank you very much for invitation, and thank you very much all of you guys for coming here and listening my story. So, okay. So I start with short presentation myself. As I was born 84 in Krakow in Poland. As Marta mentioned before, my base education was in master in cultural anthropology and philosophy, where the interest in human being and all behavior patterns, tradition, and so on was very interesting for me. Another part of my life, it was art, photography, sculpture, design, but it was always more like kind of hobby. So at some point I was wondering how it's possible to combine my education with my passion. And this luckily happened 2015 under the concept Playsculpture, moveart Playsculpture. And how it happens exactly, of course, as most important stuff in a life by chance. As artist, I was fascinated from double helix DNA chain form, which we know mostly today from medicine or biology. At one Sunday afternoon, I built up like wooden prototype around 2 meter high from some rubbish wooden lats found in the garbage around the house, just to test and place it in the my garden, how this shape, how this form works with sun, shade, surrounding, and so on. And when I was almost ready with it, then suddenly my 3 years old son starts to climbing on it. In the moment as I noticed this, of course, I was horrified whether he destroyed my piece of art or he harms himself. So after a while, I noticed that actually he's doing quite well and having fun. And he was repeating, kind of trying to get on the sculpture, and then despite my to forbid him and so on. And this actually was the first main impulse telling me that might be something interesting to connect aesthetic art with functionality and with the safety. So that was the first impulse for moveart concept, and from that day on, we realized over 1,000 projects worldwide, mostly in Europe, but some in US, Dubai, Emirates, Australia, and so on. We develop over 60, 70 different type of design, from smallest standard one to biggest bespoke elements. What is interesting, all single design, it's always a repetition of the same form, which is double helix DNA chain, or double curved surface. So whether it's big or small, it's always kind of metamorphosis of this one single archetypical form, which it's extremely flexible, inspiring, invigorating the people and the environment. Of course, all our objects are built according European safety regulation as well American and Canadian one. They are made from 100% ecological and sustainable Akoya wood, which Akoya itself gives around 50 years written warranty. We are not sure if our sculpture will survive 50 years, but for sure 25 to 35 years, that will be the lifespan. For now, the oldest sculpture is around 11, 12 years, and analyzing the oldering process, we can for sure say these numbers are realistic, very much realistic. All objects are very strong, robust. Actually, they don't require almost no maintenance, and vandalism is proof. On the beginning, we got lots of design awards, like German Design Award or European Product Design Award, and so on and so on. At some point, I stopped applying for the design awards because quite quickly I realized actually I have to pay lots of money when I get first or second place, and I believe it should be other way around. So I'm not supporting anymore this kind of corrupt business model. But still, on the beginning, that was confirmation. It was good direction to move forward with this concept. To summing up, what is moveart about? It's the easiest example. It's to compare with the market situation. So today we can find lots of playgrounds which technically functions very well, but aesthetically are not very attractive. On other side, we can meet lots of beautiful art objects in public spaces, but they are not practical at all. And in between, quite a big gap. Another aspect is the structure of public facilities. We have lots of facilities which are dedicated only to one specific age group, like children from 0 to 3, for teenager, recently very popular parkour for elderly. But as a more generation family who wants to spend time together in one place, it's almost impossible because everybody goes in other place. So based on our analysis, it shows that this kind of structure might lead to the social disintegration over a longer period of time. So that's another niche. So what we are trying to bring to connect all elements which are already on the market but separately and unite them. So our objects, one side there are beautiful piece of art. If nobody is on them, what quite often happens on the playground, that they are very little time really actively used, and most of the time they are standing empty. Then the elements playing a role like piece of art might be beautifully lightened, and then they have still some function. And if the people are on them, they are smartly designed, dedicated to very wide age and target group. So basically, in the end of the day, it's not about attractive design or smart functionality. They are like tools which are supporting integration of local communities. So for now, we are offering free product line. The first one, it's Playsculpture line. So that's the bigger wooden sculpture where the play value, it's in the focus. It's starting with the smallest lay slide 2.4 and it goes up to climb slide 11. The numbers are the length in the axis. That is why you have lay slide 2.4, lay slide 3.5 and so on. So it's mean like 3.5 meter long. These elements are mostly dedicated for the playgrounds, so they need a dropping area around them, and of course they are certified according safety regulation and so on, so on. That was also the first product line which I started for moveart, but after some time I realized this is not sufficient because another big niche on the market, which is public space, urban space, it's still like empty. There is nothing interesting except benches. So based on these inputs and observation, I developed a second product line called Smartcity line, and that's also around 10 different objects, which are lower. So normally they are not higher than 1 meter high. They are extremely multifunctional. Maybe play value it's not so high as on the Playsculpture, but still it's very interesting. And what is very important, this element doesn't need any dropping area. So they might be placed in the urban spaces, parking places, markets, shopping centers, even temporary for a couple of hours, couple of days without any extra foundation or big effort of installation and so on. So with this line, we are hoping, or actually not hoping, we are observing that we already succeeded with this approach, bringing multifunctionality and play value into the urban space with a very easy way. Third product line, which is actually our specialty, is the bespoke line. So that's the development directly with the client or landscape architects or users or all people involved in the project, unique, iconic installation dedicated to one single place, one single project. So they are not repeating anywhere else. So that's example of couple such elements. And basically, for this product line, there is no limits. We always use DNA double helix form as a kind of archetypical reference point, which we then grow, metamorphosize to the local needs, local architecture, nature, budget, and so on, so on. So for now, I would like to show you more deeply on example of one of the biggest and long-term project, how this bespoke line and the bespoke process, which was developed by us, works in practicality. So I would like to share the details about project started in 2017 in Arosa in Switzerland. It's a top touristic destination in Switzerland for winter sport, and also major income is coming or used to be coming from the winter only. And as the climate change appear and winter get close, shorter and shorter, then municipality realized they have to also create kind of solution and offer for the tourists also in the summer. So that was like starting point for this project. Another interesting challenge in Arosa is that it's quite small village and local mountain people are very traditional and not really open for innovation. And from other side, the municipality is very dynamic, innovative, and so on, so on. So I knew kind of starting this project, I have to bring all these parties together. So the way how we're trying to do that, we create kind of round table, inviting all stakeholders and analyzing a couple of basic questions, like for whom is dedicated the project. So in this case, they all agree it's for all target groups. So it's for children, adults, and elderly. So then we developed special unique tool called Human Ignition Profile, which basically offers all practical functions in public space, like passive one, sitting, resting, and active one, balancing, climbing, sliding, hiding, and so on, so on. So depending what kind of target group we choose here, we apply them to the practical function. So in this case, we have very wide range of target groups. So we have very wide range of the practical function, which should be covered by this project. What was also important, they didn't want to have like playground touch. So we skip all mobile elements, like for instance, swing. Another step was analyzing the space where the project will be realized, which also in this case was very unique because Arza has a beautiful lake in the center of the village. So with space ignition profile, which is another tool, we analyzed the area there. So what kind of nature, architecture, history is the revision for that. And doing all these questions and thoughts as a group together, we came to kind of motif. And in this case, I suggest to dig a little bit deeper what the arosa means. And in old books, they found it, the arosa, it has this meaning related to the water, irrigation, and of course the lake there. So my first design suggestion was coming from etymology of arosa name. So arosa means by water, arosa in motion, in water in motion, motif of the wave. That was the first step. Then the client, which was touristic office of Arosa municipality, paying lots of money for this project. So of course they said, yeah, but we want some kind of our logo or some other visibility there. So we take the A from Arosa Loca, implemented in the primal wave, and that was the final design line. So the A from Arosa Loga starting and going farther. So nowadays it became like 50-meter long sculpture, which was highly accepted by local people because they feel this connection to their roots, which is water in this case. Touristic office, the client was also very happy because they see the logo of Arosa in the sculpture, and the users were also very happy and are still very happy because the object is extremely multifunctional. So they can sit, they can lie, they can sleep, kids can slide on it, they can climb on it, they can hide underneath. So in meantime, it became like iconic village center meeting point where actually all generation, old and young, could spend time together. And what in this touristic destination was very important was not only about age group but also target group. So we have local people who could kind of come for more sustainable exchange with the tourists. So both were quite happy that this space was inviting for that. So after a couple of months, municipality was so happy that they asked us for another step. So to keep the basic idea of water element, to develop more design dedicated for the furniture, public furniture. So it's the way how we develop smallest water drop single seats and middle sizes family elements. So in meantime, there was around 20 different elements placed around the lake, which were extending the main big piece in the same type of philosophy, but also formal design. So it's still like a unity. And after, I believe, another 2 or 3 years, they came to us again with new project and request that all tourists coming out from the railway station, they wanted to take beautiful picture. So it was like photo point. So still based on the same principle of wave water moving with Arosa logo, all tourists could come out directly there and take beautiful picture and then put them in social media. So that was example how design of moveart is extremely flexible and then unlimited in terms of functionality. So with this same coherent, unique form language, we can build up and grow and develop all type of project, also not only the space, but in the time. So even after many years, we can add or change some elements and there will be always the feeling of this same unity and this same design language. That's a couple of pictures showing, especially this one on the left upper corner I'm very proud of, because it's showing that indeed the local people kind of accepted this piece in the middle of the village. As mentioned before, also there are extreme weather conditions because Arosa is almost on 2000-meter high, so the long winter, snow, wind, frost, it's all not a problem for Akoya Wood and for our engineering. So finishing this case with the feedback of the client, so the Pascalini was the director of tourism, he mentioned on the Facebook how surprised, how happy he was that people who were on the beginning complaining about project and prices and the design, after that they were so happy how it works and how it supports this small local community. So now I would like to share with you a couple of other projects, but just very shortly, so you have overview what kind of possibilities are there. Another project realized last year in Norway in the commune Skien, so that's the place where Henrik Ibsen was born, the drum poet. And that was 100 years anniversary of his birthday, so they wanted to create something what is dedicated to him. So we take as inspiration his famous drama Wild Duck, and working with this concept also very analyzing the hip, sip and so on. And the idea of the sculpture was kind of wing element, so artistic interpretation of the wild duck poet and some formal element of it. So we can see that the functionality of the object with this design is very interesting because the object is starting very low, which is also accessible for wheelchair people. And smaller kids with sitting possibilities, lying possibilities, and then it kind of growing more to the right side with extreme kind of play value, climbing wall with different stages for different target groups, and in the middle with huge sliding area. Here is short video how it was opened. Another project, maybe for some of you known, it's ClimeSide 6.8 installed in front of Flatiron building on Manhattan, where that's example of smart city element where the multifunctionality and some play value was incorporated in the heart of heavy urban space with very wide range of needs, target groups and age groups. As you can see on the picture or functionality, it's possible even for the dogs. Another element, it was placed in Oslo Harbor on the water. Quite often our elements as organic wavy forms are on the rivers, lakes, oceans, in waterfronts. Another project in Switzerland, very interesting for the foundation of 200 years of anniversary. So we have like 200 wooden lats. The object was kind of coming out from the soil directly, which is also possible to do that with Akoya. The Akoya is the only wood which can be in direct contact with the soil for a very long time without any issues. And as you can see, basically the ideas of a simple bench, but it's much more than just a bench. It's the meeting point for, again, very wide target and age group, where it's possible to sit very comfortably, but also balancing, sliding, lying down, and so on, so on. Another element project 2022 in London, 9 Elms, one of the bigger bespoke elements, a group of 3. The longest, I believe, is around more than 20 meters. Also inspired with local history, tradition, and so on, so on. Here it's interesting example of the lightning. Especially in the night, lightning is supporting this artistic form in a very interesting way. So during the day we have the sun shade play, and in the night we can use the lightning, which some very sculpture and artistic are very strong presented. Another interesting project was done for the with foundation for elderly people, and that's the place where house for elderly people in Switzerland. And there the challenge was that the fact that elderly people didn't want to use the fitness equipment to stay fit. So we were creating with Professor Lukas Zanner from University of Basel, who was specialized of the movement for elderly, area on the sculpture that elderly can kind of walk on the sculpture and to support and exercise the balance and grow and keep fit the muscles. And this all happened during the play with the family. So even they are not aware, they are actually doing physical activities which keeps them fit for much longer time, because this happened spontaneously, naturally during the play and spending time in the family. So this is Gleim Slide 7.9, which is the most wide range dedicated, age range dedicated sculpture, I would say even worldwide, because it's really for the people between 3 and 80 or 90 years old. Another project in Switzerland, in Mountain, where the client came to us with this brief. There is a story about dragon, which was very nice to compare with other dragons to the people. So they wanted kind of show and bring this legend much more near to the people. So we're looking for the form and shape kind of inspired by the archetypes of dragon, where the element of air and the earth and mountain and light compared with functionality and climbing for different target group was unite. That's the example of the school in Zurich. So as we see here, we have 80% children. So passive function are low, active very high. So basically it's like three-dimensional labyrinth offering unlimited play possibilities for, again, very wide range of target groups. In this project, we have lots of interesting feedback also concerning blind children or autistic children, which normally are kept away from the crowded areas of playgrounds. And here they went under the object on this kind of housing hut area, which is half closed and half open. So they felt enough safe there to have the space for themselves and still being a part of the play. So that was very interesting to show that even very special needs kids might be supported by moveart in this case. And in the end, just showing some other type of design, which are, like as mentioned before, unlimited. And finishing this with short video.
Interessano soltanto le cose inutili che non hanno senso pratico.
So that was all from my side. So now it's time for the question.
I don't see any questions in the Q&A, but anyone's welcome to put them in right now while we have a few minutes. Also, if you would like to just send them over email, we're happy to answer any questions from there. It looks like we're not getting any questions right now, but thank you so much for joining us. And you're welcome to reach out to either Norbert or I. We are kind of send out an email after with all of our information. Oh, I see some questions actually.
I think let Marta give a little bit more time.
Great.
So it doesn't have to be also a question. There might be also feedback or some critics or some new ideas. So we can a little bit open this space for free discussion if there is need for that. So
Norbert, I see one question from Lauren. She says, does the wood have to be treated based on different climates?
No, the accoya was extremely strong. So we have the project from Iceland to desert in Dubai. And basically accoya it's extremely strong in all type of climates and doesn't need any extra treatment. So you don't need to do anything with it.
I'm going to see a few more questions too. And a hand is asking, do we have any other wood stain colors?
So it is possible to use different color coating for accoya, but then it will be a matter of kind of maintenance related to that. So as long we use the raw accoya wood without any colors, there is no maintenance needed over longer period of time. But as long we use a colors coating, and especially on the areas like sitting or sliding, where the kids will be using it very intensely, it might be challenging that the color will vanish quite quickly. However, for that, we also developed the idea to put the colors just on the side of the woods, so not on the top. So then the top might be still clear and the colors might be visible from the sides, which support to have strong color for much longer period of time. But generally it's possible.
A few more questions. One from Susan. What is site initiation?
Sorry, could you repeat?
What is site initiation? Maybe this is referring to what installation is like. Correct me if I'm wrong, Susan.
If it's about installation, so that's depend on the element. The smaller element, basically from Smartcity line, that's elements in one piece, so they don't require any special installation things. It might be just placed on the floor, and depending if it's freestanding, then it's freestanding. If it's bolted, then it's bolted to the floor or eventually to the foundation. And the bigger elements from Playsculpture line, they are in 2 or 3 pieces transported on the pallets. So also the installation of the biggest element doesn't take more than 4 to 5 hours, and it's like very intuitive and easily done.
The, just heard from Susan, actually, the site initiation she's referring to is in the graphs that you presented, the factors. I believe that's the human ignition profile.
Yeah, okay. And what's the question about that?
I think just looking for more details on, yeah, the site
Okay.
initiation there.
Okay. So HIP, human ignition profile, and SIP, space ignition profile. This is part of our bespoke tool developed to speed up a process of working together with a customer, users, landscape architect, and so on, very precisely and efficiently to deliver basically what they want in the end. So human ignition profile, it's like a roadmap showing us basically if we want, for instance, that when the project is ready and we wish that in this area we invite more teenager or more elderly or more smaller kids, then we know that, for instance, for teenager we should offer some undefined creative spaces and not just sliding or something else, because this will be then more the inviting smaller kids. And if we want that the elderly will come, it will be not enough to place just the bench. It's important that the bench is a little bit higher and have a backrest as well, and so on. So that's kind of the hip and sip is a bridge between vision and wishes and hard reality, I would say.
A few more questions. Have you ever, one's from Emma, have you ever explored integrating a design into boulders?
Boulders, so you mean the climbing grips?
I'm thinking like the big rock formation.
I haven't, but that's of course possible. So there is actually everything what is related with nature, rocks or water or whatever, then moveart it's done for it, and also it's very flexible. So that's possible to kind of incorporate wood with rocks. It works very well.
Another question from Sarah. What kind of site work or supporting structures do you need underneath the product?
So again, it's depend on the size. For the Smartcity line, we don't need actually anything else because the objects are small and light. For the bigger Playsculptures, there are basically foundation, like in the size of the frost depth. So depend on the geographical location. As standard, we normally take the foundation in the depth of around 80 centimeter. We have also a solution for the roof or roof of the garage or like floors or top roofs or whatever. So then we don't work with the foundation. We have like bigger metal plates, which makes basically object like freestanding and still stable. So we can also work with big format sculpture without need for foundation.
Another great question from Sarah is, how did you transition your mindset from art and anthropology to business mindset and customer items? What learning curve and process did you go through? And then also, do liability and risk insurance questions come up with your product in cities taking on risk?
That's a very interesting question. So I believe the cultural anthropology gave me a deep insight about people needs in a kind of holistic approach. So it's not just about physical needs like to sit and slide and whatever, but it's also emotional needs or spiritual needs or like social skills needs. So that was kind of mind opening for me in terms of product design. I'm not coming out from like classical design background where I just think about product and the form. Actually, this came later. So knowing the like having this wider perspective on human being with not only physical needs, which I'm suggesting, which I see it's mostly covered by playgrounds, it's just physical needs, and the emotional are not at all or very little. So that was this kind of focus for me, important to touch this area which is much softer but the same important. So kind of interest and longing towards beauty, aesthetic, and also integrating with other people and so on, for me was in the same matter important, like that the object have to be safe, stable, maintenance reduced, and so on, so on. So it was kind of this type of holistic approach helped me to cover all these areas, including like liability and safety norms and so on, so on. So actually, in one of the first stages of development, when the concept was ready and so on, then I realized if I want to, I had to make a decision whether I go through art gallery and putting this as kind of more functional art, but it would be just reduced amount of projects, probably to high-end clients, or I make it like, let's say, more profound through classical business model and classical channels, and then reduce the art kind of, and to put it this through the classical way, like just an object or product which have to be safe and certified according safety regulation and so on, so on. So actually, I took all the safety regulation not as a limitation for this type of design, but as an inspiration. So we took lots of projects where safety regulation, like for instance, project in Zurich, where we adapt the design to the local architecture to transform it according the safety regulation and so on. I could speak about that for a long time, but I stop here. But great question, thanks.
We have some kind of similar questions about age groups and adults on the sculptures. So one question is noting that in the US, there are stringent playground guidelines that require play zones to be separated based on child age range. It doesn't encourage integration of different age groups. And how have you navigated this? And then at the same time, are these durable enough for adults to play on?
Yes, so of course the objects are extremely durable for all age groups and strong. Even the stability and static is count in the way that it might be even much more adults on one element and so on. So there is no risk at all for that. And concerning the regulation, that's also a very good question. But basically, moveart smart city line, it's so by the way, we got like we're top 5 most innovative company in Switzerland when we started. So innovation, it's something when you bring something on the market what was never there before yet. So it's mean also the law regulation are basically not they are not kind of proper for that. So that is why we solve this in the way that in the smart city line, which is developed together with safety inspector from US, Canada, and also Europe, in the way that the object itself still are built in a safe way, but they have proportion where the risk assessment prove that there is no any big risk, so the objects are smaller, lower to reduce this potential risk, and then they might be placed on hard surfaces. And basically, they are not covered by safety regulation. There is no need for it because they play a role like a classical bench in the park, because they are not higher than the normal bench in the park. In the park. So basically, in most of the cases for smart city line, object doesn't even have to be certified or by anybody as a play equipment. However, they are built in that way. So
Yeah, and in the US, yes, as Norbert said, we've worked with kind of third-party safety inspectors to look at all of these pieces. And then specifically for the play sculpture line, those do need safety surfacing and use zones. And we're happy to provide any of that information for you. A few more questions. I'm glad we have this amount of time. One question from Eric. No risk of splintering when used as a slide. How to deal with splinters if they do occur?
that is why we work exclusively with Akoya wood, because of the process of modification with acid vinaigrette change the structure of the wood in the way that the wood over a longer period of time is very stable. There is no any big cracks, or if very, very small one. And the more objects are used by children or elderly or all type of groups, the surface is smoother. So the concept behind this that is like self-maintaining. So there was no any risk of splinterage or anything like that, because it's like every day smashed by children's paw and slides and so on, so on. I would say even another way, if we have some sculptures which are not highly frequented enough, then we see, for instance, that the surface is more raw and not so smooth and so on. It's still, there is no any risk for that, but that kind of show us that actually the objects have to be heavily used, then they are in perfect stage. And if they are not used for a longer period of time, then they are not in a bit worse condition, but still no problem for that.
And then another question from Shlomit. Can you please elaborate on accessibility options? You mentioned blind people using the products.
Yes, so that's very big topic, and it's really depend on the project and product and the groups. So is it about just the blind or wheelchair or in any kind of other way special needs people? So then the objects are adapted to that. But generally I must say that first of all, the objects are full forms without any holes, without any edges, without any sharp area. They are smooth, organic, round. So this is basically already first advantage for for instance, blind children who just use all other senses to feel the element and its softness and kind of organic elements without any risk. Another aspect is the proportion. So for instance, as I show on the project from Norway, Wild Duck, the lower part of the element was enough low, so the accessibility might be on hard surface and there was no any risk of hurting, falling from heights. And the proportion was designed in the way that people even from wheelchair, they can easily move on the object itself or stay around. So there is lots of possibilities how this might be incorporated, but it needs a precise project and solution.
Great. And another question, where is this furniture made?
So the production, our factory, or I would rather say my atelier, it's located in south of Poland, in Middle Europe, and they are shipped worldwide from there on.
Great. Okay, that looks like all of the questions. If I missed any, feel free to send me an email. My email is mhall@apeoriginal.com. And APE Studio is a distributor of moveart in the United States. So we're happy to help you out with any pricing or share any more information. So just feel free to visit our website at apestudio.com and send us any inquiries.
Yes, and in case you have any crazy ideas for bespoke projects, we are very happy to support you on that.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you so much, Norbert. And thank you everyone for attending.
Thank you very much, Marta, for that. And thank you guys for great question. See you on some projects in the future, hopefully.
Great, thank you. Bye.